No one in this world can you trust. Not men, not women, not beasts. This you can trust.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Glory of Golden State Gaming. I'm your host, Swamp Swimmer, and with me, as always, the Sheriff of Nottingham to my Prince John, Vespacian.
Man, I'm a bad guy. Hi, everybody. How you doing?
That was a deep cut somewhere. I've got like an archive of statements to start shows out with, and that was somewhere from deep in the vaults. But anyway, for our little discussion before the video, you know, it is Major League Baseball postseason time, and I don't know if anyone knows, I grew up in San Diego, and my team, San Diego Padres, we're almost at the World Series. I just wanted to point that out. I'm a big Padres fan, and I'm excited for them to be there. Question one, do you follow Major League Baseball, any team in particular? And question two, like, what do you think the balance of ninth age players is that follow also are into professional sports?
Good questions. I find televised baseball to be almost unwatchable. It's so boring. But I enjoy going to games.
Yeah.
And I have enough kind of like family friends and friends who are into baseball that I follow it generally. I also happen to live in San Francisco the years when the Giants were winning those World Series, you know, which was an exciting time to be. I was at the playoff games and stuff, so it was an exciting time to be a baseball fan in SF. In terms of, I actually think, you know, I see regularly on the U.S. Discord comments about, you know, American football games, European football games. I think, you know, I think that there's a pretty decent number of people that are into sports in general in the ninth age community. Do you have a different opinion?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I think, well, in the European players, I mean, soccer or European football is king over there. So, and I think most everyone is from I tell sports fans over there. But I think in the U.S., there's not a whole lot of crossover, I think. And hey, if you guys are
like the other day, Jeremy Gottschalk had a picture of his daughter with a signed football from the Browns or the Bengals.
The Bengals, yeah.
Player. Yeah, I think there's especially the like East Coast, you know, sort of Midwest guys seem to also follow football.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Yeah. I can see that. Anyway, anyone who's watching the video, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me what teams you root for. What I don't know. I just want to know. Just curious. I'm a big professional sports fan. I watch baseball, football, and basketball. So, you know, throwing it out there. But anyway, let's get to the battle report. We just did round one for me in Infernal Zoo number 10 in Infernal Zoo 2022 in Davis, California. And I realized Vespacian just pointed out to me before the beginning of this video, I didn't edit out the beginning where I messed up the intro and restarted the video. Didn't edit that out. My bad.
We'll forgive you.
But we are now into Vespacian's round one, and you get paired into Beerbeard, who is Rob, right?
Rob, yeah, old clubmate of mine actually from when I lived down in Los Angeles. Rob, great guy, you know, played for a long time. Just recently retired, so he's moving up to Seattle, and you know that's good. The scene seems to be growing up in the Pacific Northwest, so that's exciting. He, for the longest time, played Highborn Elves. I think mainly Highborn Elves, and then sold that army and bought an Ogre Khan's army and a VC army. So he's been building up some new armies, which is cool. So I've never played Rob with his VC, so he's looking forward to the match. Yeah.
Rob, this term was the first time I met Rob, and he seems like a super cool guy. I really like him, and So yeah, I'm excited for you to play them. Let's go. Let's do a deep dive into your list. Do me a favor and go through it, and then talk me through your general strategy, your thought process when bringing this list to the table.
Yeah, so this is Sylvan Elves. So I, after my taking them to March to War, I then took the Demon Legions to Silicon Hammer. So going back to the Sylvan Elves because I really enjoyed them. I took a list that kind of high-level strategy is, it uses these, 3 big monsters as kind of, zoning / blocking threats, while the shooting does all the damage. And so it's, it's nearly maxed on bows, similar to my last list, but I kind of shuffled it around a little bit and put basically, almost maxed out on the Pathfinders and the elite archers with the, Sylvan Sentinels, big unit of archers and core, a few little chaff pieces, and then some mixed scoring pieces. So that the idea is that it's meant to be hard to catch, shoots a lot, and then the monsters help with the zoning. So I was looking forward to trying it. So I've got the Forest Prince on the dragon with the Titanic Mites, an AP3, and the Rock, some defense. The Wizard Master Druidism, Tree Father Ancient, so the big tree, healing and basically being annoying. The BSB, as a scroll and Crystal Ball Caddy. Big unit of 20 archers, the 3 units of Heath Riders, 1 the vanguarding Chaffee non-scoring one, and then the 2 that score, and then 15 Forest Guards, Spear and Shield, just kind of cheap, flexible scoring. Unit of Eagle, or 1 Eagle for Chaff, Tree Father, 2 units of 9 Pathfinders, and 10 Sylvan Sentinels. So
yeah,
it's 50 shots out of 55 cap, basically.
So a couple things I want to comment on. First off, I feel like the double Pathfinders with 1 unit of Sentinels is becoming more and more popular with Sylvan Elves. I'm seeing that more and more, and it just seems it pumps out so much. It doesn't seem like it pumps out that much, but it really does. And then my second question for you, or not question, but second point, is previously you had the Avatar, and now you've got the Forest Prince on a dragon with Titanic Might, Sylvan Blades. You weren't pleased with the Avatar, or you just realize this is a better model?
I actually there was a couple of things in this list which I'd like to try to do a little bit of a debrief, the way that Matt CD does on his channel afterwards, and kind of what we thought about the lists. I don't want to spoil it all up front. I actually really like the Avatar. The Avatar Forest Prince thing was one sort of major headache for me in list building, and I really wanted to take the Avatar. There were basically 2 things that ended up deciding it for me. The first was, this is Infernal Zoo, and there not only are there many missions where Towering Presence is scoring, but there's actually one specific mission, Hold the Ground, where dragons specifically score.
Yep.
And Hold the Ground is easily the worst mission for this list. Maybe only close competition is Flags, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought, hey, why not, try to play to the theme and have something that could make me a little bit more competitive and hold the ground. So that was one piece. The other piece is the Avatar's slow. And this list likes to sort of create board space, have lots of room to move around, and the dragon is just much faster than the Avatar. So I thought those 2 reasons were enough of a reason to try it. So yeah, and in general, I like the piece. It did well for me over the course of the tournament.
Yep, fair enough. Let's head on to your opponent's list. VC, we've got a Count General with that Lamia bloodline with Commandment, Adept on Witchcraft, Destiny's Call, Hand Weapon, True Thirst, Magical Heirloom. So on foot, still beastie shooting, and really beastie in combat. Necromancer, Master on Evocation, Adept on Evocation, Banshee, 28 ghouls, 35 skeletons with the Stalker Standard, 30 zombies, 2x2 bat swarms, 29 barrel guard with halberd and flaming standard, Court of the Damned with the Aegis upgrade, and 2 Varkalax. So this is a blocky list.
Yeah, super blocky. And we were playing flags.
Yeah.
So this flags is kind of a little bit of a toss-up match for me against this list, because I would really struggle to get, traditionally to get any of these units off in flags. But at the same time, he would really struggle to catch my scoring units because he has no shooting really. So I felt like I could pretty easily push this objective. Obviously the 29 barrel guard with the Lamia Witch and Flaming Standard, I can't put the trees into them.
And
none
not
of my
at
units
all.
really I can fight that unit. So I think what was said on the list review was that Rob's best play would probably be to sort of like turtle up in a corner and prevent me from getting the objective, and that my best play would be to try to pick off points where I can, things like the Varkalax, the bat swarms, and if given the opportunity, try to focus fire down the weaker of the scoring units to try to win the objective. So that was kind of the projection of this match.
And I got your little blurb about your predictions. I think that's basically what you said.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot. You're right. I spoiled it. Yeah.
Let's see here. This picture is marked top of 1 movement.
Yeah. So remembering that this was blind deployment, right? And something I forgot that Rob reminded me helpfully right at the beginning of my turn 1 movement was that in the first half of turn 1, all the units on the table got soft cover, which I did not remember until that moment. But long story short, Rob and I had a funny little after the battle conversation about this, because we both sort of in the game theory of where we would deploy with the blind deployment, we both sort of second guessed and ultimately kind of did something a little silly with what we did. But essentially, I got to pick sides. No, he got to pick sides. And basically, we both ended up deploying essentially centrally, because I was worried that he was going to deploy in a corner. So I wanted to be flexible either direction. And he was worried that I was going to drop heavily on one side, take advantage of my movement. And so he didn't want to have to slog all the way across the table because he misguessed, right? So we both centrally deployed, which was kind of funny. And so what you can see here is welcome to the zoo, where the terrain is, almost as big as the table.
I was just going to point out that is a very large trademark of Infernal Zoo, is large impassable pieces, and this is the one on your table, the temple or whatever this is.
Yeah. Lots of impassable. Those 2 obelisks in the middle, also impassable. You can see that we had 2 sort of massive hills on Rob's side, right? You can see on my side, I've got the big temple, the forest that was already down in the middle. You can kind of see it there, and then my forest, the field, and that over in the upper right is a ruins.
Yeah, this one
with those 2 crystal obelisks. Yeah. So I ended up getting first, which was a straight dice off. So I ended up getting that and decided to take it because, one thing I was a little worried about was he can claim a lot of board space if he just moves up, right? And with the obelisk kind of protect his flanks, I thought he could set himself up in a pretty well-defended position in the middle there. So I moved up with the 2 monsters on the left, right? So the dragon and the... Oh, I guess I should say which
do his deployment really quick.
My apologies. So from left to right, you've got bats. You've got the ghouls behind the zombies. He's got a Varklak. You can kind of see his big limb there behind the obelisk. He put the court and the banshees in the skeletons. and then he put the witch in the barrow guard. Other Varkalak behind the hill, just sheltering from my shooting, and then the bat swarms over there.
Okay.
Very centrally, tightly packed. For me, kind of around the house, you can see my vanguarded heath hunters, and then the dragon, the tree father, the eagle, the two scoring heath hunters in the back. Those two cavalry units. The tree father ancients there in front of the spears, and then the archers behind them, and sort of to the side of them, all of the elite shooters. The blue units are the pathfinders. The green unit is the sentinels.
Gotcha.
For demonic devices, and basically my scoring is just trying to stay away from everything on game, essentially. So so turn one, I push up on the left with the dragon and the tree father. I was prepared to be aggressive with them against the zombies. They're blocking up the ghouls. That is probably the only scoring unit that I can take in a straight up fight with those monsters. So I was trying to take advantage of that. And my turn one shooting was pretty bad. As mentioned, there was soft cover everywhere that I didn't remember about. And so I think I did like 2 wounds to the Varkalak behind that obelisk in the center, and that was basically it.
Fair enough. Let's go to, this is bottom of one movement.
Yeah. So Rob surprised me a little bit in that he moved the zombies up. Okay. And so he put them in a very reasonable charge distance for the dragon and the tree father. He did what I was a little afraid of, which was he started to bring up his two units. I think that he should have been just a little bit more aggressive with them and kind of pushed up further. I think he was trying to kind of watch watch where my units were. Maybe he was trying to keep some targets within snipe range or something like that. But basically, I think he probably could have brought those barrow guard up a little bit further. And then you can see that the Varkalak from my perspective, the right kind of moves out to be, to start threatening and start pushing up that flank.
Yep, and the other one did the same thing, but kind of moved over here. Yeah.
Yeah, and so my priority in this magic phase was basically I just could not let him get the move spells off. Right? So I was fine. I let him heal the Varkalak back up. I hadn't done enough damage to really care that much, and I bound the bubble movement spell from Evo, and then just spelled Raven's Wing, which was the other spell that he went for. So I really wanted to try to contain him. I liked the board state and how far away I was from his big units, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to rush forward, basically.
Okay. Top of 2 movement, and wow. Okay.
Yeah, so you can see, I just, I think he gave me like a 5 or a 6 on the dice with the Tree Father, which was, if it had been a little bit further, I might have been, less aggressive here. But the way I figured it was he could get, he'd get 1 heal, he'd bring back his champ, but I needed to be able to grind the unit out in time for me to then pivot and charge something and get away in my next turn.
Yeah.
And by the math, I figured that I could manage that. And he had no counter charges, right? So I decided to go for it. If I get that unit, that's basically the objective sewn up, and I can essentially just disperse from there if I need to and get a decent sized win. So I was happy to have the opportunity, and they both made it in, fortunately. So
yeah.
Otherwise, the scoring units are evacuating to the left as far away as possible. Yeah. And I'm just keeping all of my shooters, turning them so that they can hit that Varkalak and Bat Swarm over on the right, because I don't want to get kind of pinchered over there.
Top of 2 combat. There. Okay, we can see here. Is this after combat?
Yeah. I think think so. So keeping in mind that he has that necromancer in there, the baby one.
Yeah.
I misspoke earlier. It's not a champion, necromancer. Happy to get him because he was the second move spell, right? And one arise. So the dragon kills him turn 1, and the tree father sort of stomps and smushes through some zombies. So there's like 15, 20 left, something like that.
Okay. This is bottom of 2 movement.
Look at me getting some extra pictures. Come on.
Wow. I have to say I'm very impressed with the amount of pictures you took this whole tournament. So we'll see some more photos.
I was committed to it. Yeah, everybody can look forward to that. It's not my usual 3 to 5. So here, so I thought this was an interesting move, turn of movement from Rob, because I think he really had a few options. You can see that in my shooting, I took off that bat swarm on the hill, and I think maybe punched a wound or 2 through on the bark. I can't tell. Not hugely impactful, but I think this was an interesting turn of movement from Rob. So he had a couple of options. I think one of them was he could have turned his big units to be in position for counter charges if I got hung up on the zombies.
Yeah.
Right? His other alternative was to hope that the zombies don't go down and just do what he did, which is push forward, right, and try to start threatening my back line. So that's what he ends up doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is where the slightly tentative first turn movement. If that barrel guard unit had been up a few inches further, I think it could have
really been scary for it. Yeah, definitely.
But then he did the right thing, which is if you're going to press, you press with everything, right? So he starts pushing the Varkalax up aggressively, and that's also where I think his kind of tentative first turn movement with that wounded Varkalak on the left. If that had been up around the house a little bit further, then my move of evacuating my scoring units out that would not have worked, right? So he makes this move here, and then I think so. What ends up happening in this turn is I prioritize everything on stopping the arises on the zombies, and I think he gets a bad phase, like a bad card, and I also it just ends up working out. This is probably one of the only times in the entire tournament that Crystal Ball actually made a difference, because I was able to stop both of his arises, because as mentioned, I'd killed the necromancer, right? So he only had 2 now. So I got lucky there, just kind of a mix of bad dice and things like that, which means I'm able to wipe out the zombies easily, and then you can see what happens the next turn.
Yeah, there you go. You wipe out the zombies, they pop. You turn, multi-charge his flank. Ooh, with his big block. That's
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the dragon is going to get just challenged out for days, and I couldn't. The Tree Father Ancient looks like it's in, but what I pulled it all the way out of arc of the Barrow Guard, because I think I was too far away to actually get the charge, or because of maximization, I would have needed to be in the Barrow Guard's arc so he could have countercharged. So I just pulled it all the way over. It's actually not in combat, but what it's doing is it's preventing his ability to reform.
Yeah.
Because I'm covering so many models on the flank, right? And so I felt like that was a good move. I'm going to churn on that block for a long time, but he has no counter charges, right? And so this is where that me being able to stop the raising made a huge difference, right? Because now I can pin that unit. There's a ton of points in that unit. And I just continue the evacuation with the scoring units on the left. I turn everything around out of arc of the Barrow Guard to annihilate that Varkalak.
Yeah, everything and their uncle is going into that Varkalak.
Yeah, that's 53 shots right at close range right there. So I think poor Varky is gonna die. But then, so yeah, was pretty happy with this turn of events. You know, some good luck in that prior turn helped me out.
Bottom of 3 movement.
Yeah, so I think Rob, recognizing that he's going to be in tough shape, kind of takes a big swing that maybe wasn't the best move, but he tries to go for, I think, a long charge, like a 10 or something like that, with the barrel guard into the spears.
Oh, I see.
Now, to be fair, if he makes that, the objective becomes pretty questionable, because then he's got all 3 of my scoring units boxed into that corner.
Yeah.
With the Varkalak and the barrel guard unit. So I can't necessarily blame him for taking that path, but it was like a bet big to win big move, and it didn't pay off because he failed it. And now, because he did that, he has no help for the skeleton block, right? Which I think, you know, probably would have been the safer path to go.
Yeah.
Would have been to wheel around and close my Tree Father Ancient in to that corner there. So that's what he does. You can see I did manage to take off the Varkalak. He does move his ghouls up, but because they're out of march range, there's still actually a decently long charge from the Tree Father and the Dragon there. So that was fortunate so far back. And he pushes his Varkalak up. I think a little bit, he probably could have been a bit more careful with the movement here because he did give me, if I passed my march checks, he did give me the ability to get out of his arc. So he could have been further back and prevented that, but then of course he wouldn't have been able to make me take march checks. So this was another, I think, kind of like bet big to win big move, because if I fail to march, I can pick it up. So, but yeah. So
Top
then,
of 4. And it looks like you do exactly that. You pass your march checks.
Yeah, so I managed to get out of arc, and then I put the Tree Father Ancient in, because now that he doesn't have counter charges, I put the Tree Father Ancient into the block to take the challenges for the dragon, so the dragon can start blowing through that unit. And the 53 shots converge at close range on the barrel guard, which is that's a tough spot to be, tough target, but a tough spot to be. And we continue evacuating. You know, the spears are out of the Varkalak's line of sight. So then in shooting, I think I overperformed in this round of shooting, but I think there were 29 barrel guard to begin with. I think I get them down to like 10.
Ooh, wow.
It's just a lot of heat from that kind of range. And then the combat goes well. The Tree Father Ancient manages to smush a Banshee, and the Dragon and the Tree Father are just really, now, because the 2 of them are able to strike, are really starting to churn through the skeletons and deplete that block down, even with all the buff.
In the one turn you charged in the flank, did he fail his reform check and he's not facing you anymore?
He either failed it. I remember we talked about that. He either failed it, or because of where the Tree Father Ancient was, and the fact that I was in his flank, my 2 models were covering like 8 skeletons in the flank. And because of where the Tree Father Ancient was, when he reformed, he wouldn't have been able to keep the same number of models in contact.
Yeah.
That was like that. There was a reason why he couldn't do it. I can't remember if he failed it or because he couldn't make the reform, but one way or the other.
The kind of ticky-tacky kind of situation. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. It's because that unit is so deep with that court in it, right? Remember, there's a Necro, 2 Banshees, and the court, so that's like
I don't see any of those in this picture.
Yeah, so it was in that turn that I ended up popping them. It was you know, the Dragon and the Tree Father just did a metric ton of damage. Now that the Dragon could get out of the challenges, and managed to pop them kind of just barely that turn.
I mean, that's surprising in itself. Like there was a lot of wounds in that unit.
Yeah, but 2d6 stomps, but it's like 15 attacks, 2d6 stomps. The Tree Father Ancient was also able to get res from the challenge with the Banshee.
Yeah.
So I think all of that combined, it was like I think I was up like 20 plus combat res or something like that.
Boy, oh boy. Okay. And this is marked end of game.
Yeah, so there you can see the damage that I did to the Barrel Guard, and I think between the skeleton block popping and, if that turn of damage to the Barrel Guard hadn't gone so well, I think maybe he could have played a game where he just reses them back up and tries to avoid losing points. But with the amount of damage that I ended up doing, Rob called it at this stage. Yeah, I mean, I think he he made some aggressive moves that, a little bit of a mix of luck and also I think contingency planning. He could have kind of followed those aggressive moves up a little bit differently and maybe had a better outcome. But I think it all came down to giving me that zombie charge with no counter charges. Me making that in and then being able to stop the arises was kind of that led to what happened afterwards, right?
So a solid start for Vespacian. 20 points in round 1 is always a good start. Congratulations, that's a good win. But yeah, we'll see where the tournament leads. Next up will be my round 2 game. Hey, if you're still watching, please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.